I used to tell myself I didn't need their approval, standing there in my penthouse office, gazing out at the city glittering below. I almost believed it. The email flashing on my screen was from my younger sister. Mom and Dad are struggling. They need help with the mortgage.
I know you probably can't afford much.
But anything would help. A bitter laugh escaped before I could stop it. If only they knew. 10 years ago, at 18, I had stood in our cramped living room, clutching my acceptance letter to art school like a lifeline.
My father's face turned a dangerous shade of red.
Art school? Are you out of your mind? He brandished the letter like it was contaminated. We didn't raise you to throw your life away, Sarah. Across the room, my mother sat silent, hands folded neatly in her lap.
She always let him do the shouting,
folding herself smaller and smaller until she was barely there.
I earned a scholarship,
I said, voice trembling but determined, and I saved enough to cover the rest. Ridiculous. He crushed the letter in his fist. You'll go to business school like your sister, that's final. But for once, it wasn't final. No, I said, and the word felt like lighting a match in a dry forest. His face darkened from red to purple. Then get out. If you're so smart, go make it on your own, but don't come crawling back. So I packed my bags that night, hands shaking, heart pounding, but my resolve unbroken. From the doorway, my sister Meline watched, wide-eyed, part horror, part fascination. You're really leaving? I have to, I whispered, shoving clothes into my duffel. I can't live the life they want for me. Just as I zipped the bag closed, my mother appeared in the doorway. For a flicker of a second, I thought she might stop me, might finally fight for me. Instead, she pressed an envelope into my hand, her eyes downcast. Your grandmother wanted you to have this when the time was right, she said. I think that's now. I didn't open it until hours later.
Sitting alone in a cheap motel room,
trying not to cry.
My dearest granddaughter,
the letter began. If you're reading this, it means you've chosen your own path. I always knew you would. Inside the safety deposit box is what you'll need to begin. Remember, true art isn't just about creating beauty. It's about seeing value where others see nothing. Love, Grandma Rose. The next morning, I opened box 247 at First National Bank. Inside was a modest collection of old jewelry, a few documents, and another letter. These pieces belonged to my grandmother, an art collector in the 1920s. Most people think they're costume jewelry, they're not.
Find Marcus Chen at Golden Age Antiques.
He'll know what you have. My hands shook as I carried the box to Marcus. And when he finished his evaluation, I nearly dropped it. The costume jewelry was a trove of rare Art Deco pieces, valued at over $400,000. But even more valuable was Marcus' offer. You have an eye, he said. How would you like to learn the business? That was the real beginning. Under Marcus' mentorship, I learned to recognize hidden gems, negotiate with confidence,
and weave a web of collectors and curators.
While my family probably imagined I was waitressing or couch surfing, I was quietly building a future they couldn't even fathom. 2 years later, I opened my first gallery. By year 5, I had 3. By year 10, I owned the largest private art dealership network in the country, and a personal net worth of over $14 million.
They never knew.
They never asked. All they ever saw were the occasional social media posts, a modest apartment, a humble life, just enough to keep them from prying too closely. Meline still sent me job postings sometimes. In case you need real work. I let them believe what they wanted.
It was easier that way.
But now, staring at my sister's email, begging for help with our parents' mortgage, something in me shifted. I realized the time for illusions was over. I picked up my phone and dialed my sister. Meline, bring Mom and Dad to my office tomorrow. It's time we talked. Your office? She asked, confusion dripping through the line. You mean the coffee shop where you work? I glanced around my penthouse suite in Morgan Tower. No, my actual office. I'll text you the address. Morgan Tower? She laughed.
Her disbelief palpable.
Sarah, you can't just walk into Morgan Tower and pretend you have an office there. Security won't even let you in the lobby. I smiled, the irony not lost on me. I bought the building last year. Trust me, they'll let you in. Just be here at 9 a.m. And Meline, tell Mom and Dad to bring their mortgage papers. All of them. The next morning, I watched from my office windows as they pulled up in my father's ancient sedan. Even from 30 stories up, I could see the confusion on their faces as the security guard led them to the private elevator, The one that only went to the penthouse. Your family is here, Ms. Harrison, my assistant buzzed through the intercom. Send them in, I replied, turning toward the door with deliberate calm. The looks on their faces when they walked into my office made every sacrifice, every silent hour of hard work worth it. My father froze mid-step, his mouth hanging open in disbelief. My mother reached for the doorframe to steady herself. Meline blinked rapidly, as if expecting the scene to change at any moment. The office itself was a testament to the life I had built, a story told without words. Original paintings, each worth millions, hung on the walls. My desk, a rare Art Deco restoration, gleamed like it belonged in a museum. And beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawled below us, my kingdom, quietly conquered. Sarah, my mother's voice was barely a whisper, her hand trembling on the doorframe. What is this? This, I said, my voice calm, is my office. Welcome to Harrison Fine Arts and Acquisitions. My father's face shifted from red to purple, his anger beginning to bubble over. Impossible, you're a barista or something. I've seen your posts, your apartment, your struggle. I walked to a painting on the wall, a piece I had found at a small estate sale for $500, now worth $2, $3 million. Actually, I said, my voice steady, I'm the owner and CEO of the largest private art dealership network in the country. Those social media posts, carefully crafted fiction. But. Meline stuttered, her confusion still not letting up. The Morgan Tower? She asked, still struggling to comprehend. It's mine, I finished for her, my tone sharp. Well, technically it belongs to my company, but since I own the company, that's when my father lost it. How dare you hide this from us? We're your family. All this time you've been secretly. Secretly what? I cut him off, my voice cutting through the air like a knife.
Secretly succeeding.
Secretly building something better than anything you ever imagined, secretly proving you wrong about everything. I walked to my desk and sat down, feeling the full weight of the moment settle in. Now, about that mortgage problem. The silence in the room was deafening. My father's face had turned crimson as he processed what he was seeing. My mother absent-mindedly traced the edge of my desk as though trying to convince herself it was real. Meline stood frozen, staring at the original Monet hanging on my wall, unable to comprehend the shift in power. I opened my laptop, pulling up my banking dashboard and turning the screen toward them. Since we're being honest now, I said, my voice cold, here's my current balance, all $14,236,542 of it. My mother gasped. My father's hand shook. Meline dropped her designer purse, the same one she always flaunted at family gatherings. This is why you're here, I continued, pulling out a folder. You need help with the mortgage, 3 months behind. If I'm not mistaken, the bank is threatening foreclosure. How did you? Meline started. I own shares in that bank, I said flatly. I know everything about our family's finances. I know about Dad's failed investments, Mom's credit card debt, and your underwater real estate ventures, Meline. My father finally found his voice. You knew we were struggling and did nothing? Your own family? I stood, my hands resting on the desk, steady and unyielding. Remember the night you kicked me out? Don't come crawling back when you fail. Those were your exact words, weren't they?
That was different.
He sputtered. We were trying to protect you from making a huge mistake. No, I said firmly, locking eyes with him. You were trying to control me. There's a difference.
I turned to face the window.
Looking out at the city below, the city I had built, piece by piece, while they weren't watching.
For 10 years.
I built this company from nothing. No help, no support, no encouragement, just hard work, determination, and the gift Grandma Rose left me. My mother's head snapped up. Rose? What did she? She believed in me. I cut her off, my voice sharp. She saw what none of you could, that I had a vision worth believing in. She gave me the tools to start this journey, but I built this empire myself. I turned back to face them. Every holiday dinner, every family gathering, I endured your jabs, still working at that little art shop. Sarah, when are you going to get a real job? Sarah, you could always come work for my company. Sarah, we need someone to handle the mailroom. Sarah. Meline flushed, her eyes darting to the floor. The mailroom jab had been her favorite dig last Christmas. Now, I said, meeting each of their gazes, you need my help. I continued.
Now suddenly I'm worth acknowledging. Now that you've seen my bank balance, I'm finally good enough to be part of this family.
My father straightened, slipping into his businessman persona like a well-worn suit. We can discuss the past later. Right now, we need to talk about the mortgage. As your family. Stop right there, I interrupted, holding up my hand. Let me show you something. I pressed a button on my desk, and the large screen on the wall flickered to life. Financial documents appeared, bank statements, property deeds, investment portfolios. This is everything, I said, voice steady. Every debt. Every failed investment. Every financial mistake. I tapped a few keys. The total amount needed to clear everything and get this family back on solid ground is exactly $2,400,000. My father's eyes lit up with hope. Meline started to smile. My mother reached for my hand across the desk, but I pulled it back. I have that amount set aside in a separate account, I said, coldly. I've had it set aside for years, actually. Every time you hit a rough patch. Every time you almost lost the house. I watched. I waited. I wanted to see if any of you would ever try to fix things yourselves. But you never did. I paused, letting the weight of my words hang in the air. Instead, you took out more loans. You remortgaged the house. You borrowed from friends. You did everything except admit you needed to change. I leaned back in my chair, letting my words sink in. So here's what's going to happen. I will clear every debt. I will save the house. I will even set up a trust fund to ensure this family never faces financial hardship again. They all began to speak at once, but I raised my hand, silencing them. But there are conditions, I said firmly. First, Dad will retire. No more risky investments. No more trying to prove yourself. Second, I continued, turning to Meline, Meline will close her failing real estate business and go back to school. I know you always wanted to be a teacher before Dad pushed you into business. Meline's eyes widened. I was the only one who remembered her original dream. Third, I said, looking at my mother, Mom will finally start that small bookstore she's always dreamed of. I'll provide the startup capital. My mother started to cry quietly. She'd let go of that dream long ago, sacrificing it for my father's ambitions. And finally, I said, voice steady, we're going to have weekly family therapy sessions. All of us. Because money isn't our only problem, and I'm tired of pretending it is. My father began to protest, but my mother placed a hand on his arm. We'll do it, she said softly. All of it.
I nodded, then pressed another button.
My assistant entered with a stack of documents. These papers make everything official, I explained. The debt clearance. The trust fund. The conditions. Take them home, read them carefully. If you agree, sign them, and bring them back tomorrow. As they stood to leave, still in shock, I added one last thing. And Dad, that thing you said 10 years ago about me crawling back when I failed? He looked at me, a mixture of shame and regret in his eyes. I never failed, I said quietly. I just succeeded without you.
They left my office in silence, clutching the documents like lifelines.
Through my window, I watched them get into the car and drive away. My assistant came in with a cup of tea, she always knew when I needed it. Are you okay? She asked gently. I thought about the past 10 years, the long nights, the hard work, the lonely holidays. But I also thought about the strength I found, the confidence I built, and the woman I'd become. Yes, I said, smiling slightly. I think I finally am.
The next day, they returned with the signed papers. We began the process of rebuilding, not just their finances, but our family.
It wasn't easy. Years of resentment and hurt don't disappear overnight. But slowly, we started to heal. My father actually apologized, something I never thought I'd hear. My mother opened her bookstore, which became a beloved local landmark. Meline went back to school and now teaches art to elementary students. She's never been happier. As for me, I kept building my empire, but now I do it openly. No more hiding. No more pretending to be less than I am. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't making others feel small, it's showing them how big you can become without their approval. On my desk now sits my grandmother's old jewelry box, a reminder of where it all began. Inside, There's still one piece I've never sold, a simple gold locket with her picture inside. On difficult days, I open it and remember her words. True art isn't just about creating beauty. It's about seeing value where others see nothing. She was right. And sometimes, the most valuable thing you can find is your own worth.